Hi. In the Interesting Objects section, we explored a variety of built-in Java classes that are at our disposal when designing and creating programs. Please be aware that this video will not cover every aspect presented in the reading. Instead, it will be used to highlight specific concepts of interest. Be sure to read the section text before completing the program practice activity and/or the section quiz. Application Programming Interfaces, or APIs, are specification sheets for each built-in Java class. These spec sheets provide summaries of the built-in Java classes as well as the constructors and methods available with each. APIs are compiled and stored on the Java API specification website. That's its link on the screen right there. This web resource is highly beneficial. It is good practice to review the website when developing programs or projects so as not to reinvent the wheel. What I mean is not to recreate a class that has already been created by other Java developers. Throughout this section, you'll be introduced to a variety of classes and instructed to review the API for the given class. Be sure to do so and get a feel for the layout of these specification sheets and how information is presented. To access built-in Java classes, generally you have to import the class. Doing so provides you the full functionality of the class. As we work through the different built-in Java classes, or some of them, the reading will inform you whether a class needs to be imported or not, and if it does need to be imported, the reading will provide the import statement to be added to the program in order to access the class. The string and array classes are classes that we've used in the past, but truth be told, we've not used either to their full potential, particularly the array class. The array class has a lot of powerful built-in methods for accessing data in array. Gone are the days of writing complex code to sort and search array data. The math class is a very handy tool, particularly if your program is going to include advanced calculations. That is, calculations above those that can be performed with our basic mathematical operators. The point class is math related in that you can use the point class to create point objects that correspond to a point on the Cartesian coordinate plane. The reading introduces the keyword null. The null keyword can be used to create a reference to an object without creating the object itself. It's kind of like declaring a variable without initializing it. The null keyword declares a reference to a given object without creating the object by giving it data. The reading doesn't necessarily answer the question, why would we need the null keyword, or when would we use the null keyword? These are good questions. I can think of an instance where we might. Let's say we're creating a program that will access the point class and create a point object. But imagine that the x and y coordinate data of a given point class object is provided by the user as input. Let's consider this program situation with an example. In our example, we initially create a reference to a point class object and assign the null keyword to it, effectively naming our point class object userPoint, without using the keyword new to create the object or give it data. We then get the x and y coordinate data from the user and use the data to create the actual object, using the object reference, userPoint, the name that we just gave to our to reference our object. The new keyword, so here we use the new keyword. We also use the point class name, and we pass our input, user x and user y, as arguments to the point class constructor. And in doing so, we have now actually created the user point object. In the last section, we were introduced to the issues inherent with trying to print an object with our standard print methods. In that section, we discussed creating class methods for printing objects. In this section, we're introduced to the ToString method in an attempt to truly understand what is happening when we use standard print statements within a program to print an object. It's important to note that some built-in Java classes rewrite the ToString method so that instance variable data is actually printed to the output window in a readable format. For instance, the point class has a modified ToString method that provides slightly more user-friendly output. Let's see how those modifications look using our previous program example. At the bottom of our program, note the use of a standard print statement and the passing of our point object, user point. However, since the point class has rewritten the ToString method, the printed output in the output window provides more meaningful object instance variable information. The rectangle class is symbol. Excuse me. Okay, let's try that again. The rectangle class is similar to the point class in that it uses the x and y coordinates of the Cartesian plane. Whereas the point class has two instance variables, one for x and one for y, the rectangle class has four instance variables, one for x, one for y, one that represents the width of the rectangle, and one that represents the height. With these four data points, the rectangle class can create 4 points on the Cartesian plane that are rectangular in nature. The information presented in the text regarding the rectangle class is fairly straightforward. However, I want to address an issue I've seen in the past. In one of our programming activities, you're asked to create rectangle objects using the built-in Java class rectangle. I've seen many students create a program called rectangle and then attempt to import the rectangle class. As a heads up, if you create a class called rectangle and then attempt to import the rectangle class, you will get an error. You cannot name a class the same name as a class you are trying to import. So, if you're creating a class that will import the rectangle class, use a class name like myRectangle or Rectangle1. Okay, just as a heads up. So that's it for this section. I hope this helps to explain some of the new concepts presented about, interesting classes that are available to us in Java. Remember, if you have questions about this section's concepts or programming practice activity, please reach out to me.